What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Payne with Facemask Fantasy with a quick reaction to the news that Dolphins wide receiver Will Fuller will miss Week 2 against the Buffalo Bills. Fuller is out with a personal issue. When asked about it, head coach Brian Flores said, "We're taking it one day at a time." He was also asked if this could potentially span multiple weeks or if he anticipated that could happen, and he reiterated the team is taking it one day at a time, and of course, they're fully supporting Fuller with whatever he's dealing with. So, naturally, we hope everything is okay with Will Fuller. Personal life, personal matters come first. Whatever Fuller needs to deal with, he needs to deal with. That being said, from a fantasy perspective, don't drop Will Fuller. You probably got him at a pretty strong bargain because fantasy managers were already fading Fuller a bit. His ADP was down because of the Week 1 suspension that he had to serve to finish his suspension that started last year in 2020. Fuller was anticipated back Week 2. Now he's out. Hang on to Fuller because he was a wide receiver 1 as far as fantasy points per game goes in 2020. And you got him at a discount. It's way too early in the season to hit the panic button. But if this does turn into a development, of course, we will monitor this situation. For the Dolphins' other wide receivers, both Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker, strong wide receiver 3 plays, both with wide receiver 2 upside. If you have either one and you don't have obvious options as far as starters, both are absolutely viable. You can absolutely throw either one of them or both into your lineup and expect solid results. Playing against Josh Allen and a high-octane Bills offense that can score at will, even in difficult matchups. The ancillary pieces also might get a boost, most notably Mike Gesicki, who laid a goose egg Week 1. He remains off the streaming radar. I'm not a believer in Gesicki, and with Parker and Waddle on the outside as options, I think Gesicki has fallen down the pecking order for targets, even with Fuller's absence. So he's not on the streaming radar. Leave him on your bench if you have him rostered. If he does something great, he's worth hanging on to. If he doesn't, Gesicki is probably a drop if he has another bad week. It's just often not worth holding a tight end who you drafted around 100, 110 picks into the draft, and then they're not doing anything to start the season. There are streamers all over the map, all over the radar, that would present better options if Gesicki does in fact flop Week 2. But we'll see. To the Bills' credit, they did not give up a lot of passing touchdowns in 2020. The defense was pretty strong in that regard, and they have a stud cornerback in Tre'Davious White, who I would imagine Parker sees, but White could absolutely bounce around if Waddle has the hot hand, or if Parker has the hot hand. He'll probably follow one of the two, depending on who's playing better. So that absolutely has to be taken into consideration. But Pittsburgh did a decent job moving the ball last week through the air. And with Miami playing their home opener, that is a bit of an intangible where I feel a little bit better about the wide receivers. So feel free to fire up Parker. Feel free to fire up Waddle. They remain strong wide receiver 3 options. If you have an IR spot and this isn't Dynasty, Fuller's probably eligible for it, so go ahead and stash him there until further notice. Go ahead and pick somebody else up. Maybe you can find a defense to stream, a kicker to stream, something like that. Give yourself a little bit of roster flexibility. You were probably leaving Fuller on the bench this week anyway, just to see how things go, see how targets might get distributed, see if he performs, having not played dating back multiple weeks in 2020. So this doesn't hurt you this week, most likely. If you were relying on him to start this week, you might be a little thin at wide receiver, but there should be some depth options on the wire if you need to go there for a backup plan. Parker and Waddle, I expect they soak up the most targets here. Mike Gesicki is not on the streaming radar for tight ends. He needs to show something, literally anything, first before we can go there. And again, he's a drop if he does nothing in Week 2. Best wishes to Will Fuller once again. We hope everything is okay. We hope everything works out for him and that he's back in the lineup Week 3. Keep it locked here with Facemask Fantasy. We'll be sure to update this from a fantasy perspective if anything else develops or comes of it. Till then, this is Nick Payne with Facemask Fantasy, producing fantasy content for you each and every day. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.